The housekeeper Robert Lee Frost. I let myself in at the kitchen door. Ampersand Quo. It's you, Ampersand Quo, she said. Ampersand Quo. I can't get up. Forgive me not answering your knock. I can no more let people in than I can keep them out. I'm getting too old for my size, I tell them. My fingers are about all I've the use of so's to take any comfort. I can sew, I help out with the beadwork what I can. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. That's a smart pair of pumps you're beading there. Who are they for? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. You mean? Oh, for some miss. I can't keep track of other people's daughters. Lord, if I were to dream of everyone whose shoes I primped to dance in. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. And where's John? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Haven't you seen him? Strange what set you off to come to his house when he's gone to yours. You can't have passed each other. I know what, he must have changed his mind and gone to Garland's. He won't be long in that case. You can wait. Though what good you can be, or anyone it's gone so far. You've heard. Estelle's run off. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Yes, what's it all about? When did she go? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. 2 weeks since. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. She's in earnest, it appears. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I'm sure she won't come back. She's hiding somewhere. I don't know where myself. John thinks I do. He thinks I only have to say the word, and she'll come back. But, bless you, I'm her mother. I can't talk to her, and, Lord, if I could. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. It will go hard with John. What will he do? He can't find anyone to take her place. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Oh, if you ask me that, what will he do? He gets some sort of bake shop meals together, with me to sit and tell him everything, what's wanted and how much and where it is. But when I'm gone, of course I can't stay here. Estelle's to take me when she's settled down. He and I only hinder one another. I tell them they can't get me through the door, though, I've been built in here like a big church organ. We've been here 15 years. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. That's a long time to live together and then pull apart. How do you see him living when you're gone? 2 of you out will leave an empty house. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I don't just see him living many years, left here with nothing but the furniture. I hate to think of the old place when we were gone, with the brook going by below the yard, and no one here but hens blowing about. If he could sell the place, but then, he can't, no one will ever live on it again. It's too run down. This is the last of it. What I think he will do, is let things smash. He'll sort of swear the time away. He's awful. I never saw a man let family troubles make so much difference in his man's affairs. He's just dropped everything. He's like a child. I blame his being brought up by his mother. He's got hay down that's been rained on 3 times. He hoed a little yesterday for me. I thought the growing things would do him good. Something went wrong. I saw him throw the hoe sky high with both hands. I can see it now. Come here, I'll show you in that apple tree. That's no way for a man to do at his age. He's 55, you know, if he's a day. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Aren't you afraid of him? What's that gun for? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Oh, that's been there for hoax since chicken time. John Hall touch me. Not if he knows his friends. I'll say that for him, John's no threatener like some menfolk. No one's afraid of him. All is, he's made up his mind not to stand what he has got to stand. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Where is Estelle? Couldn't one talk to her? What does she say? You say you don't know where she is. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Nor want to. She thinks if it was bad to live with him, it must be right to leave him. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Which is wrong. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Yes, but he should have married her. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I know. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. The strain's been too much for her all these years. I can't explain it any other way. It's different with a man, at least with Ch1. He knows he's kinder than the run of men. Better than married ought to be as good as married, that's what he has always said. I know the way he's felt, but all the same. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I wonder why he doesn't marry her and end it. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Too late now, she wouldn't have him. He's given her time to think of something else. That's his mistake. The dear knows my interest has been to keep the thing from breaking up. This is a good home, I don't ask for better. But when I've said, we shouldn't they be married, he'd say, we should they? No more words than that. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. And after all, why should they? John's been fair, I take it. What was his was always hers. There was no quarrel about property. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Reason enough, there was no property. A friend or two as good as own the farm, such as it is. It isn't worth the mortgage. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I mean, Estelle has always held the purse. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. The rights of that are harder to get at. I guess Estelle and I have filled the purse. 'Twas we let him have money, not he us. John's a bad farmer. I'm not blaming him. Take it year in, year out, he doesn't make much. We came here for a home for me, you know, Estelle, to do the housework for the board of both of us. But look how it turns out, she seems to have the housework, and besides, half of the outdoor work, though as for that, he'd say she does it more because she likes it. You see, our pretty things are all outdoors. Our hens and cows and pigs are always better than folks like us have any business with. Farmers around twice as well off as we haven't as good. They don't go with the farm. One thing you can't help liking about Ch1, he's fond of nice things, too fond, some would say. But Estelle don't complain, she's like him there. She wants our hens to be the best there are. You never saw this room before, a show, full of lank, shivery, half-drowned birds in separate coops, having their plumage done. The smell of the wet feathers and the heat. You spoke of John's not being safe to stay with. You don't know what a gentle lot we are, we wouldn't hurt a hen. You ought to see us moving a flock of hens from place to place. We're not allowed to take them upside down, all we can hold together by the legs. 2 at a time's the rule, 1 on each arm, no matter how far and how many times we have to go. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. You mean that's John's idea? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. And we live up to it. Or I don't know what childishness he wouldn't give way to. He manages to keep the upper hand on his own farm. He's boss. But as to hens, we fence our flowers in and the hens range. Nothing's too good for them. We say it pays. John likes to tell the offers he has had, 20 for this cock, 25 for that. He never takes the money. If they're worth that much to sell, they're worth as much to keep. Bless you, it's all expense, though. Reach me down the little tin box on the cupboard shelf, the upper shelf, the tin box. That's the one. I'll show you. Here you are. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. What's this? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. A bill for $50 for 1 luncheon cock receipted. And the cock is in the yard. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Not in a glass case, then? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. He'd need a tall one, he can eat off a barrel from the ground. He's been in a glass case, as you may say, the Crystal Palace, London. He's imported. John bought him, and we paid the bill with beads wampum, I call it. Mind, we don't complain. But you see, don't you, we take care of him. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. And like it, too. It makes it all the worse. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. It seems as if. And that's not all, he's helpless in ways that I can hardly tell you of. Sometimes he gets possessed to keep accounts, to see where all the money goes so fast. You know how men will be ridiculous. But it's just fun the way he gets bedeviled if he's untidy now. What will he be? Ampersand Quo. It makes it all the worse. You must be blind. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Estelle's the one. You needn't talk to me. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Can't you and I get to the root of it? What's the real trouble? What will satisfy her? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. It's as I say, she's turned from him, that's all. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. But why, when she's well off? Is it the neighbors, being cut off from friends? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. We have our friends. That isn't it. Folks aren't afraid of us. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. She's let it worry her. You stood the strain, and you're her mother. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. But I didn't always. I didn't relish it along at first. But I got wanted to it. And besides, John said I was too old to have grandchildren. But what's the use of talking when it's done? She won't come back, it's worse than that, she can't. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Why do you speak like that? What do you know? What do you mean? She's done harm to herself? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. I mean she's married someone else. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Oh ho, oh ho. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. You don't believe me. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Yes, I do, only too well. I knew there must be something. So that was what was back. She's bad, that's all. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Bad to get married when she had the chance? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Nonsense. See what's she done. But who and Quo? Ampersand Quo. Who'd marry her straight out of such a mess? Say it right out, no matter for her mother. The man was found. I'd better name no names. John himself won't imagine who he is. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Then it's all up. I think I'll get away. You'll be expecting John. I pity Estelle. I suppose she deserves some pity, too. You ought to have the kitchen to yourself to break it to him. You may have the job. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. You needn't think you're going to get away. John's almost here. I've had my eye on someone coming down Ryan's Hill. I thought 'twas him. Here he is now. This box. Put it away. And this bill. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. What's the hurry? He'll unhitch. Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. No, he won't, either. He'll just drop the reins and turn Doll out to pasture, rig and all. She won't get far before the wheels hang up on something, there's no harm. See, there he is. My, but he looks as if he must have heard. Ampersand Quo. John threw the door wide, but he didn't enter. Ampersand Quo. How are you, neighbor? Just the man I'm after. Isn't it hell? Ampersand Quo. He said. Ampersand Quo. I want to know. Come out here if you want to hear me talk. I'll talk to you, old woman, afterward. I've got some news that maybe isn't news. What are they trying to do to me, these two? Ampersand Quo. Ampersand Quo. Do go along with him and stop his shouting. Ampersand Quo. She raised her voice against the closing door. Ampersand Quo. Who wants to hear your news, you dreadful fool? Ampersand Quo.